Hey y'all, I'm back with another art video rant, this time about the workplace. Haven't seen one of those videos before, huh? Today's story is about my encounter with probably the most annoying type of person you could deal with in the workplace. Aside from narcissistic CEOs, egotistical managers, and their flying monkey employees, this coworker archetype is one of my many icks. I like to call this one the "look at me" or the "I'm better than you" archetype. And this is exactly what this lady was. So aside from posting art videos and running charcoal studios, I also do independent contracting by filling up coolers for stores around my area. Mostly because the extra money isn't too bad, especially in this economy. However, at one of my favorite stores to stock for, I ran into this woman who in the beginning of my shift didn't seem too bad. She seemed really kind until I started working in the cooler. I had no idea she worked there before though, because, I would never actually see her working while I was working. However, as I started doing my work about 2 hours in, she would come in and start doing her work about, I don't know, 5 inches away from me. Not even 5 inches. I would say 2 centimeters. We were literally hip to hip. And usually when I would work with other cooler stalkers, they would stalk from the opposite side of me and we meet up in the middle, or they would get assigned to work a specific number of shelves. But this lady was way too close for comfort. It was actually kind of uncomfortable. She would try to talk to me about how she would be the one to stock the cooler, but she couldn't because she was out of state for ages. Like I said earlier, I ain't never seen her the entire time I was working there at that specific store, so I didn't really give a shit. A job is a job, as long as the job gets done by whoever is on the shift that day. It doesn't really matter. She also would say that she would always get it done the right way, how the manager loved her, and all this other extra shit. And I'm sitting here just like, lady, I don't care, but I would try to act professional and pretend that I was listening because clearly she needed her ego scratched. The last thing she said that kind of made me annoyed and kind of made me want to leave the cooler altogether was that she apparently took 3 whole days just to reset the cooler because the items weren't stocked in the right places. In my mind, I was like, lady, you're too old to be doing that much. But of course, I nodded and bared it until I got too annoyed to work with her and I went to go do something else. This was mostly because of how much she would talk when I didn't want to talk to her, and she clearly didn't get the hint that I didn't want to be her friend, because guess what? I'm never friends with my coworkers, ever. And y'all should take that advice to heart. Just saying, don't ever be friends with your coworkers. It's not worth it. So after her weird statements, I left the cooler, but then it got weirder. When I left to go do something else, she would follow me. Yeah, weird. When I would hide out in the back and eat a snack during break, she would constantly come out of the cooler to check her purse or to talk to me, which is something that I didn't want. Or when I would restock the items in the front of the store, she would leave the cooler again and would fiddle with the cooler items on the other side of the cooler where I would be restocking items in the front of the store. It felt like she was watching me, and that really grinded my gears. Luckily, I haven't seen her again since that day, but here's where it gets more annoying and weird. Later on that week, and yes, this happened within the same week, I come into that same store and I started working the cooler. Then I noticed something. I look at the form we use in order to know where the items we go. We call it a schematic. Well, after looking at each of the schematics, I was like, oh wow, all that for what? Nothing in that cooler was fixed. And she was a freaking liar. I get that sometimes it's annoying for many people to get something wrong, so you have to get assigned to fix other people's mistakes, right? However, it's weird as hell to speak about how great you are at your job to other coworkers and boast about all your accomplishments to the point where you volunteer to do extra work for the same amount of hourly pay everyone else gets. However, you don't get promoted, you didn't get a raise because of that, but you sure the hell muled for somebody who didn't want to do the job themselves, all for the sake of recognition that you never actually received. The funny part in all this was the fact that this lady really boasted about herself and all her efforts when she didn't even do shit at all. This is why some people in the workplace really need to humble themselves or get humbled, and this is the ultimate example as to why these types of coworkers make me want to vomit. The lesson here today is if you're dealing with coworkers who want to make themselves look better than you, or they boast about their accomplishments when you didn't even ask them their name, let alone they didn't even ask you your name, keep them as far away from you as possible and never engage. People like that will waste your time gossiping about shit that doesn't matter, or will drain you by being boastful, arrogant, and clingy. So just watch out for that. Be careful out there, and fuck them hoes. Fuck them bitches. Thank you for watching my little rant today. Have you ever experienced dealing with a coworker that would try to minimize you or would try to make themselves look better than you for no reason? Let me know your stories down in the comment section down below. If you also have any advice that could help a future contributor to society, leave those in the comment section too. I mainly focus on art tutorials, illustration, and animation. But if you'd like to hear more stories like these, please let me know as well. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, afternoon, and evening, and shalom.